Hi everyone, hi, I am Kristine and welcome to my channel Lovely Inspirations, where I am on a journey of improving my health one habit at a time, my mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical health. Part of that health, mental health and emotional health is encompassed with parenting. So if you're a mother, you know the healthier you are emotionally and mentally, more present you can be for your children. We just celebrated Mother's Day last weekend and it was very lovely. Just to share what I did quickly, my husband cooked the meals for the weekend, and my children helped out with the chores, and they made their gifts and bought some gifts. And then on Sunday, we went to the park and we just hung out, spent some time together, and was just active. It was really nice, really relaxing. So I would love to hear what you did for Mother's Day and how you celebrated. Please share. But Dr. Charles Stanley, I am very appreciative of his life and of his ministry. He is one of the few people that I've never met that has significantly impacted my life. Well, he had a sermon that was called Characteristics of a Godly Mother. And so I journaled this sermon and just characteristics because I wanted to kind of study them. It was very convicting because a lot of them I, of course, have not mastered, but it's definitely a goal, especially seeing how his mother raised him for a good amount of time. She raised him on her own, and I'm sure she never would have imagined the type of life and influence that he grew to have. And so it's just such a reminder to us that our faith in the Lord is seen and it's witnessed not only from others, but from our children, and how much of a small seed of that faith can just flourish as it did with Dr. Charles Stanley's ministry. We reviewed 9 characteristics, 9 or 10 characteristics of a godly mother. And I'm going to put the link in the description if you want to hear the sermon in its entirety. I do recommend, but if you don't know the points, I will go over those right now. So the first characteristic that he went over is that a godly mother reads her Bible and prays often. Okay, so he mentioned it doesn't have to be every day, often, right? And every day would be nice, but often enough to where her mind is renewed, studying the ways of God to allow the Holy Spirit to transform her, basically. And so an illustration that came to me as I was listening to this was that oldest daughter, she looks just like me. We look just like, everyone says it, especially strangers. They will say, "What, you guys look like twins, you guys look so much alike." And even when I was pregnant with her, before she was even born, we could tell by the ultrasound that she had my profile. We just knew that she was going to look like me. But the older she gets, it's almost uncanny, And so I was thinking about that, and I was thinking, wow, if we didn't say that we were Christians, we as mothers, right? If we never said that we are Christians and that we are followers of Christ, it was never on our shirts or on our mugs or on our journals, right? Would others be able to see the resemblance of us and our Father, right? Through our conversations, through the way that we handle things, through our words, through our lives, would it be evident that we look like Jesus? The fruit of the Spirit, joy. Would joy be there? Would peace be there? Would kindness be there? So I was thinking about that, and I think that it would be, because it comes if we are reading often and if we are praying often, then the Holy Spirit does the transforming work, right? And relationship with the Lord begins to bear fruit. And so we don't have to, it's good that we say it, but we don't have to say it because the evidence and the resemblance is there. And that's just such a good quality to have. We need that in order to reflect characteristics of our Father. Another characteristic that he mentioned was that she trusts the Lord for her every need. And he mentioned that he and his mom were poor growing up, but she never said that. She never said how poor she was, that they were. Even when things were lacking, she was, trusting God for whatever they needed. She would trust God, and it would be evident in her speech. I was challenged by this. I was like, wow, this is just such a good reminder that whenever it can be financially or whatever the need is, if we're in a problem where we don't have the solution just yet, but we can just say, we demonstrating trust in the Lord by saying, I know He's going to provide us with the wisdom that we need to figure this out. Another quality that he mentioned is that a godly mom is generous. Again, he mentioned they didn't have a lot, but when someone came by and they asked for something, she would always give it to them. Generosity is, again, another attribute or quality that the Lord has. So the more that we are generous is the more that we look like Him, right? And it could be generous with our words, our deeds, right? Generous with anything that someone expresses a need of and that we have it. Are we giving it cheerfully? That should be the goal, that we give it cheerfully. This is a reminder to me, right? It's not about perfection. We're not trying to raise perfect children. We're not trying to be perfect mothers. But this is the standard that God has, and that we are not striving, because that's one thing that I'm realizing that I need to stop. It's not about striving, but it's allowing the Holy Spirit to work within us to bear the fruit. But once we read and once we have beautiful illustrations like Proverbs 31 or the illustration of Dr. Charles Stanley's mom, we can see, and even our own mothers, I know that we've seen these qualities, and I know my mom exhibits a lot of these qualities. We have pictures and illustrations that we can say, Lord, this is an area that I might be weak in, but I would like to improve on, right? So I just wanted to kind of put that out there, because it's not for something for us to just be like, oh wow, like I got 5 out of 10. That's a 50% average. I must be failing. No, but it's not about that. It's about just allowing the Holy Spirit to work within us and acknowledging these characteristics that we want to aspire to have. Another quality, a godly mother knows how to create a godly atmosphere within her home. It's very true. It's not just about like the decor, and even though decor is lovely, right? But it's not just about the decor, but it's about the feeling. It's about the feeling that, the theme of the home could be felt, right? And so just think about, the different homes that you've gone into. I know for me, I still remember as a child, I have 2 distinct examples. I have a childhood friend. Her mom was a stay-at-home mom. Her home was, or she was retired, I think. I don't even know. She was always there. Her mom was always there. And the home was always well lit. The things were pretty much, her home was in order. It was just a really nice feeling of the home. I loved being over there. I felt free over there. Like sometimes if I was over there for lunch, her mom would have not only lunch for her daughter, but for me too. And I remember that, that was my elementary friend, and I'm 40 years old and I still remember the feeling. And I had another friend who they had a lot of concerns within the home, but I just remember it being very dark. It was just even if it was light outside, it was dark within the home. And it's not just the actual physical light, but it was a reflection of the feeling of the home. And so it's just a reminder, to us, like, as we're seeking the Lord and as we're seeking to cultivate these godly attributes and fruit of the Spirit, it can be felt through our home. That's a blessing. It truly is a blessing that we have help to do that. Another quality that he mentioned was forgiving, that a godly mom is forgiving. And we have plenty of opportunities, I'm sure, through our family members, through our children, through strangers, where we're in situations where we have the opportunity to lend out forgiveness. Because where there is a lack of forgiveness, it tends to be stress, what Dr. Charles Stanley mentioned. It creates stress, it creates tension, and again, that can also influence the atmosphere of the home. Persistence is the next quality. The example that that he used, that his mom would mention and remind him that if he dropped off his his trousers, she'll be like, nope, you got to pick those up and put them back, right? But it's just about creating the follow through, even in the details, even while the children are young. And so if we do that, it's training them to be persistent, following through a given task so that they know not to give up. And so that's something that we can aspire, to create and to accomplish, but also encourage our children to do the same, to be persistent, and it will transfer into other areas of their lives. So another characteristic is a servant spirit. Just serving others and training the younger children. It starts young because they go through that phase where it's just everything is me, and mine, right? But if we can start encouraging them that no, you can be a blessing, you are here not to just to be blessed, but to be a blessing. And it starts very young, by sharing, by using your gifts and your talents for others, to bless others. And if we exhibit that within ourselves, they can see that within ourselves too, but we can also encourage our children. It could be like a lot of these things, it's not just us teaching them, but it's allowing our children to walk alongside us during this faith journey so that they can see it within us, but also walking with them, as we're raising them and showing them opportunities to be forgiving, to be persistent, and to have a servant spirit. Next quality, a godly mom has an orderly life. So even if you have one child, or if you have 2 or 3, the more children you have, the more opportunity you have to be out of order, to have things seem out of order. Or you can reframe it and just say, the more children that you have is the more opportunity you have to gain order, right? And so we need a schedule, we need a to-do list, we need some type of routine that will help us to keep things in order so that we can minimize the stress. Because the less stressful we are is the less anxious that our day will be, and that our children we can create that atmosphere for them to thrive. So this is an example for me, is that in the morning when I'm not following a routine, I tend to rush when I really don't need to rush. I can just wake up a few minutes. I'm up early. It's about just having that routine, right? Having the routine, being consistent with the routine, so that when it's time to send specifically my middle daughter off to school, that I'm not rushing her out of the door because she's running late. But it's about being, that's an example of just it's the importance of having an orderly day, which transfers to an orderly life, so that we can minimize the anxiety, we can minimize the stress, and that we can send our children out into the world as confident as we can, as we have the capability to send them out to be. And it helps to train them also to be orderly. Another characteristic of a godly mother is an encourager, right? So this can be done not only when our child is doing well, right? Encourage it. Oh, great job. I know you can do it. You did amazing, right? It's not just that, but also when our children, when they're not doing that well, we're still encouraging them. We're still being consistent and saying, you know what? Did you do your best? And that's one of the great examples that he used, that, he didn't have good grades when he was in school. He was pretty average, come home, and his mom would see his report card and she would say, I just have one question for you. Did you do your best? And he said, yes, ma'am. And she said, well, that's all I require. That's all I ask of you. And I love that. I think that's great, and look what he became, to have his doctorates. And so with our children, we want to encourage them. We want to stretch them. I know sometimes I do, I want to stretch them, but also it's a good reminder to encourage them when they're not performing as much as they think they would like to perform, or as high of a standard, but to just let them know, like, it's okay. You know, it is okay. You learned. It's not about just being at the top all the time. It's about you trying your best, and to also encourage those qualities in them that they may not see yet, but to encourage them so that it can bloom. Another quality is to love them unconditionally. And this is not just loving children, your children unconditionally, but also loving people, our family members, you know, the people that we are in relationships with unconditionally, so that they can see, you know, love is just not there or given when the person is doing well and having, you know, all of these great attributes that we love. But it's also about loving our enemies. It's also about loving people who are hard to love. It's also about loving ourselves when we have certain qualities that we don't like, you know. So it's not wasted. All of those relationships that are hard relationships are not a waste of time. It's about showing them how to overcome with love. These are the characteristics that Dr. Charles Stanley shared. And so I'm sure that you have many of these characteristics. I'm sure that your mother may have had many of these characteristics. And so we are asking the Holy Spirit to help us to grow these characteristics within us, so that by the time that we're grandmothers, we will be just a beautiful illustration of God's love and nurture for our children and our grandchildren. So I want to know, which one of these characteristics do you need help with the most? I can list at least 3 of them, right? And I think, you know what, I think I will list them in the comments. So let me know. I will definitely be praying for us, because this is a journey. It's not something that's to be done overnight. It's a journey, and it's a lovely one along the way. Our children will be blessed, and our children's children will be blessed. So thank you so much. Like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Have a great day.